Hi friends, welcome back to the final round of 2019 Animal Artists Collective videos. The aim of these videos and the art created is to provide a platform for emerging artists, to promote positive messages for animal welfare, and to connect artists to their communities. Artwork produced is always made available for sale, with at least 50% of the proceeds going to a non-profit animal conservation organisation. Unofficial participation is absolutely welcomed, videos and artwork alike, so if you create something based around the theme, make sure you share it with us on social media. All the links to that can be found in the description below. Make sure you check out all of the other artists participating in this round as well, and all of their links can be found below as well. The theme for this last round of 2019 is reptiles. The vote was between reptiles and fish for this round, and I must say I was just a little bit disappointed when fish didn't win, because I had a cracker lined up for that, but I'm gonna have to wait until next year to draw that one for you guys. My initial thoughts for this round went to a skink, and when I actually tried to find decent reference images for one of these, I came up a little bit short, couldn't find a decent one, and then I thought of a giant tortoise, as I have some good references for that which I actually took myself, but I just wasn't feeling the colours and it wasn't screaming at me to draw it, and I didn't feel inspired. I did some reptile googling and I came across a rainbow boa and I was sold. So that's my pick for this round. These fun looking snakes aren't in any danger or anything, and you can actually get a hold of one of these for a pet, an exotic pet, pretty easily, which makes them pretty worldwide. But their initial and natural habitat is primarily located in Brazil, and it's actually the Brazilian rainbow boa that I'm drawing here. And even though their numbers are high, habitat destruction and deforestation has significantly reduced their numbers. Now, these snakes can reach between 5 and 7 feet at maturity and are excellent swimmers, like all snakes, and they're actually extremely important for controlling rodent populations. And these snakes are actually nocturnal hunters, and they rely on heat-sensing pits in their jaw, which help them detect and to locate their prey. Rainbow boas are actually non-venomous snakes, and they ambush and constrict their prey. So they use their long teeth to grab hold of the prey, and then they kind of coil around and squeeze with that big long muscle that is their body. So while their numbers are actually high and their habitat is slowly decreasing, it is actually important that we act now to stop the further decline of the species. And the main way to do that is through protecting their habitat and halting any further destruction and deforestation, which is why I'll be donating 50% of the profits from the sale of this piece to the Rainforest Trust. I couldn't find a snake specific charity to support that I really connected with, so I wanted to find one that could specifically help their environments, and the Rainforest Trust does just that. They work to protect the planet's ecosystems, which in turn helps native species to thrive. And this is something that is and should be important to everyone, to maintain and protect the world we live in, not only for the animals that call it home, but for ourselves too. And if you want to learn more about the charity and its aims, then I've left a link in the description box below, along with a link to the finished piece available for sale. So, I don't really have too many facts to tell you guys apart from the ones that I just have, so I really want to talk about the creation of this piece, because it went through some hard times, let me tell you guys. So I started off this piece, the line art for a start was just, I ended up creating the line art doing the grid method, and what I actually did for the line art was create some diagonal lines coming from the top left hand corner down to the right hand corner to kind of get the slant of the scales, and then kind of moved that more sort of vertical as you come to the head, and then just filled in all of these little like scalloped areas. When I first started to add the coloured pencil layers to this piece, I started off the first section which is on the left hand side. You can see that it is ever so slightly different to what will be happening on the right hand side. So I started off just by gently outlining each of the little scallops, just kind of making like joined U shapes, and I used a walnut brown pencil to kind of add those in, and then I started to add all of the colours over the top. And I actually quickly found that this wasn't gonna prove to be like a really realistic method and a really realistic looking piece by doing it that way. You can kind of tell the difference between the first section that I did and the following sections, just how different and how much of a difference the change in technique actually made. So the first little section, I did kind of leave it with this initial technique that I was using because I kind of wanted it to not be the focus. I wanted the head and that kind of iridescentness to be the focus of this little portrait. So I just kind of left it because it kind of made it look a little bit blurry. And then as I started to change the technique and move towards the eye and the snout of the snake, you can see that everything is like in more focus and everything looks a little bit more realistic. So I kind of like that effect, and I'm glad that I did actually leave it and I didn't start over with this piece. And talking of starting over, I went through so many phases on this. To begin with, I was really kind of excited when I found the reference picture for this. This is from Pixabay, by the way. I'll leave a link to that in the description if you want to check it out. I found this reference and I was really excited because I was like, oh my god, I get to use neon colours. I haven't used like really neon colours apart from the saber-toothed tiger that I drew. So I was really excited. And then when it actually came to drawing it out and then the realization of, oh my, I'm gonna have to add all of these scales in, what have I let myself in for? And especially creating this for a tutorial as well, I was just really daunted by the fact, and I started to doubt my abilities and doubt whether I would actually get this done in time, because it's only a small piece. It only measures like 1.5 inches in height and 6 inches long. It's not a massive piece, but just it took forever with all the scales. And yeah, I went through a really big phase of procrastination. I was like, maybe I shouldn't do this, maybe I should just say that I'm not going to do this round, but I didn't want to let the collective down on all of the other artists, and I did actually really want to draw this. So I pulled up my big girl pencils, I suppose, and I set about to draw this. And as I said, the beginning section, the technique wasn't right, and I got past that first section and I was like, this is rubbish, I'm going to scrap it, I'm just going to stop. But then I was like, no, let's just change the technique. And then I started to fill out each individual scale. And there are a lot of scales and a lot of colour changes and a lot going on, and yes, it took me a long time. The entire piece from start to finish took me just under 5.5 hours, and for a piece this small, that is a long time. Usually I take about 5 or so hours to do like a 8 by 10 inch piece, so it was a really long time to just spend on this really teeny tiny portrait. But I just worked scale by scale. I kind of went in those diagonal lines and just filled out each little row of scales, just following the reference photo, seeing where the colour shifts were. The most fun part of this actually was to do the colourful parts on the scales, and that was really good, really interesting to do, because they kind of shifted from the natural scale colour, which was like this red, really dark red browny orange colour. It kind of shifted from that colour through to this neon yellow, then green, and then a nice turquoise colour, and then to a darker blue, purple and magenta. And it was nice to kind of follow that pattern of colours. Like on the top half you had the yellow, and then it faded into the blue and purple that ran down the middle, and then from the middle it went from that blue through to the green, yellow, and then it faded actually into a nice magenta and that purple again. So yeah, I really enjoyed the colourful parts, and the technique I used was just to use a fairly hard pressure with each scale, just kind of fill it all in. And I used a white pencil for blending for this, and what I actually did to create the illusion that the scales were next to each other was just leave ever such tiny like gaps between each scale. So I filled in each scale one at a time, and then I just left like a little ring of paper white around each one, and then I just toned it with whatever colour I felt was natural. So I kind of just used the yellow and the purple and an ultramarine blue to fill in most of the white gaps, and it just kind of gave the illusion that they were a little bit sunken in, so it kind of made the scales pop out a little bit. That was a whole process. For the little shines on the scales, I was considering leaving the paper white, but some of the shines were so ridiculously tiny that I was having enough trouble with the scales itself. So when it came to the highlights, I was like, no, I'm just going to use a white gel pen and we're just going to fill in those highlights like that. And I know I get some comments in my comments box on YouTube saying that a white gel pen isn't archival, but I usually spray my pieces with a fixative, and I have pieces from 5 years ago now that have gel pen on it and it stayed put, so I think we're all good. I was also toying with using the Faber-Castell Pitt Artist Pen, the white one that you get. It's got like a little bullet nib, but it just wasn't getting nice and opaque, so I just ended up using my white jelly roll pen for this. As I got towards the snout of the snake, it actually became a lot easier. I was really getting into the process of the scales and really enjoying the colour blends and everything, and I got my enthusiasm back and I was really enjoying it. So the last kind of third of this snake didn't actually take me all that long. It was just all of those little tiny scales. You can see just how tiny they are. Like some of them are not even that much bigger than like my pencil nib, so it was just a really tedious job. But towards the end I was really enjoying it, and I was actually kind of sad to see the end of this because I just wanted to do more scales. All in all, I am glad that this is over and sad at the same time, so I'm glad and sad. I would really love to know what you guys think of this piece. Do you think I pulled it off in the end? Did it overcome that bout of procrastination to create something really good? Let me know what you think of this piece in the comments box below. Make sure you give this video a big like to show your support for the Animal Artist Collective, and if you're new here, hit that subscribe button to receive weekly arty content like this straight to your subscription feed. Make sure you tick that bell as well so you can be notified exactly when I upload. I'll catch you guys in the next video soon. Bye!